entered in the biometrics instruction letter and thus prevents the students from submitting their biometrics. These errors take time to correct and will delay processing. On the IRCC website, the published processing times are no longer accurate since we are prioritizing applications for people who are exempt from the travel restriction. We are unable to provide specific processing timelines and cannot offer a response to any questions on the turnaround for processing of applications at this time. We will contact applicants only when there is an update regarding their application, so please be patient. We encourage applicants to monitor their online accounts, watch our website for updates, and follow us on social media for updated information. IRCC Delhi continues to operate at a limited capacity as necessitated by the pandemic. As such, please expect delays in responding to inquiries. If you need to submit a document or new information, use your IRCC Secure account to send us this information directly into your application. Additionally, please only send one inquiry and wait for a response. Sending the same inquiry multiple times will only cause further delays. Other factors also contribute to processing delays, such as missing documents and incomplete application. Panel physicians, when applying online, ensure that your name and date of birth are exactly as they are shown in your passport. We are seeing many cases where, for example, a name is incorrectly entered in the biometrics instruction letter and thus prevents the students from submitting their biometrics. These errors take time to correct and will delay processing. On the IRCC website, the published processing times are no longer accurate since we are prioritizing applications for people who are exempt from the travel restriction. We are unable to provide specific processing timelines and cannot offer a response to any questions on the turnaround India are now booking applications for Upfront Medical at this time. We will contact applicants only when there is an update regarding their application. Wait for an immigration medical examination. We encourage applicants to monitor their online accounts, watch our website for updates, and follow us on social media for updated information. Or obtain the supporting documents you need. IRCC Delhi continues to operate at a limited capacity as necessitated by the pandemic. As such, please expect delays in responding to inquiries. If you need to submit a document or new information, use your IRCC Secure account to send us this information directly into your application. Additionally, please only send one inquiry and wait for a response. Sending the same inquiry multiple times will only cause further delays. Other factors also contribute to processing delays, such as missing documents and incomplete application. Panel physicians across India are now booking appointments for Upfront Medicals. If you submitted an online application without an Upfront Medical, you need to wait for an immigration medical examination or an IME form to book an appointment. This means that it may take longer for you to complete your medical exam or obtain the supporting documents you need for your application. However, you must submit the missing documents as soon as possible because we will not be able to finalize your application otherwise. Because of the pandemic, if submitting an application with missing documents, we strongly recommend you provide an accompanying letter indicating that instruction letter or indicating what is missing and when you intend to submit it. In India, using for certain key items like language test results, transcripts, diplomas or degree certificates, you should not submit your application until you have these instruction letter. As you are likely aware, we've taken a phased approach to providing services at the VAC or the visa application centers for other applicants. After being closed for an extended period of time due to the pandemic, a lot has had to change because we take the health and welfare of our clients and staff very seriously. Therefore, we ask that you please be cautious and not crowd outside the VAC and come to your biometric appointment alone. In the next slide, we will look into more details of some of the changes at the VAC. Passports received at the High Commission will be immediately returned without a visa. Because of the pandemic, the VACs are still operating at limited capacity. Only available as of today, all visa applicants who hold a biometric instruction letter may book a biometric appointment at the VAC in India using the online booking tool on the BFS Global website. When using the VAC online booking tool, an applicant holding a BIL or a biometric instruction letter may book only one appointment. Attempts to book additional appointments are not permitted and delay processing requests for other applicants. Please scan the VAC QR code on your screen where many of your questions will be answered. Once scanned, the document request following you to be updated on your phone. The application form. Courier submission for holders of passport submission request letters will start in a phased manner. Please do not send your passport directly to the High Commission. Passports received at the High Commission will be immediately returned without a visa. Starting July 5th, passport submission is only available for flyers who completed the two-way courier process prior to May 1st, 2021. We request your patience while you kindly wait for VFS to contact you. Passport submission for all other clients will begin later this month in a phased approach. Please monitor the VFS website and our social media pages for upfront fees for both biometrics and your processing. I'm sure that there are a number of you to whom the study permit process is very new. So let's go over some of the basics. For your submission to be considered an actual application, you need to submit upfront the following documents. Passport, the application form of your passport. We don't have an application until and unless you've submitted all of the required forms. Usually, there is the application for a study permit and the family LOA form. However, if you are less than 17 years of age, you need to also submit a completed custodian declaration to indicate who will be caring for you when you are in Canada. You should not submit it. And if you decide to use the help of anyone with your visa application, you should also declare this by submitting the use of a rep form. This lists the basic documents for an application. Lately, we've been seeing a number of applications. You should aim to provide all, whether it is the processing fee or biometrics fee, which you need to submit both upfront fees for both biometrics and your processing fee. You need for this means a fee receipt for a total of 235 Canadian dollars. Non-SDS stream. For passport copies and a copy. You need a valid letter passport photos and a copy of your passport demonstrating a letter of offer of acceptance from a DLI in Canada. Usually, this should be an unconditional letter of acceptance or LOA. However, we will accept a conditional LOA if you can also demonstrate as you provide evidence that you meet the conditions in your application. You should not submit your application until you have evidence to demonstrate that you meet the conditions as stated on your LOA. While this lists the basic documents for an application to be considered, you should aim to provide all necessary supporting documents as well, which we will discuss in the next slide. Living expenses and transportation for the first year of school. This slide reflects the document you need for your eligibility assessment. It covers both the SDS and non-SDS stream. For SDS, student direct stream, you need a valid letter of acceptance, Ielts test results demonstrating 6.0 in each band, a receipt or documentation that tuition has been paid for the first year, including all scholarships and grants, a receipt for a GIC for 10,000 Canadian dollars, your most recent school transcripts, and a CAQ for Quebec bound students. For the non-SDS stream, here is what's required for your eligibility. In addition to Ielts, we also accept TOEFL and PTE test results. No online language test results will be accepted. Instead of a GIC and paying a full year tuition, you must show liquid funds to pay for tuition, living expenses, and transportation for the first year of school, plus an explanation and evidence of how you intend to pay for all of the remaining subsequent years of school without relying on working in Canada. Additionally, we strongly recommend that you submit a statement of purpose to explain why you have chosen that program of study, in the next why Canada, and explain your financial plan to pay for all your years of studies. Note that if you are unable to submit a required document, for example, Upfront Medical, your application will be moved to the non-SDS stream. We strongly recommend that you only submit your application once you have all of the documents required for your eligibility assessment. Failure to provide a required document may result in the refusal of your application. Note that this is not a refusal based on non-compliance, but rather that you provided unsatisfactory evidence to either demonstrate your bona fides as a student or lack funds for your purpose of travel. In the next few slides, we want to provide you with information about medical examinations and tuberculosis. We sometimes find that applicants are reluctant to complete their medicals because of fear of refusal. Allow us to allay some of these fears now. All permanent resident applicants and temporary resident applicants who will be staying in Canada for more than 6 months are required to get their medical tests or medical examinations done. Only designated panel physicians are able to conduct your immigration medical exam. You can find a list of them on our website. Note that the panel physician doesn't make the final decision about your medical exam. IRCC does. If there's a problem with your medical exam, we'll contact you in writing. When can you take your medical exam? You have two options. You can do it before you submit your application. This is called an Upfront Medical. To arrange this, please contact the panel physician directly to make an appointment. This is what we recommend everyone to do. Your other option is to wait until after you've submitted your application. If you choose this route, you must wait for IRCC to send you instructions. You will have 30 days to comply with these instructions. Failure to do so may result in the refusal of your application. Here is what you can expect during your exam. You must complete a medical history questionnaire, which will ask you about previous or existing medical conditions. They'll also ask you about any medications you're taking. There is the physical examination during which the doctor or medical clinic staff will weigh you, measure your height, check your hearing and vision, take your blood pressure, feel your pulse, listen to your heart and lungs, feel your abdomen, check how your limbs move and look at your skin. You have the right to a chaperone at any time during the medical exam. You may ask the medical clinic to have a staff member in the room or stop the exam at any time to ask questions about what the doctor is doing. You can also stop the exam and ask for a chaperone even if you refused one at first. And if you have any questions or feel uncomfortable with a part of the exam, when applying online, ensure that your name and date of birth are exactly as they are shown in your passport. More than 1 year has elapsed or will elapse by the time you are ready to about your concerns. You should also note is to wait until after you've submitted your application. If you choose this route, you must wait for IRCC to send you instructions. You will have 30 days to comply with these instructions. Failure to do so may result in the refusal of your application. Here is what you can expect during your exam. You must complete a medical history questionnaire, which will ask you about previous or existing medical conditions. They'll also ask you about any medications you're taking. There is the physical examination during which the doctor or medical clinic staff will weigh you, measure your height, check your hearing and vision, take your blood pressure, feel your pulse, listen to your heart and lungs, feel your abdomen, check how your limbs move and look at your skin. You have the right to a chaperone at any time during the medical exam. You may ask the medical clinic to have a staff member in the room or stop the exam at any time to ask questions about what the doctor is doing. You can also stop the exam and ask for a chaperone even if you refused one at first. And if you have any questions or feel uncomfortable with a part of the exam, please ask the panel physician to stop and tell them about your concerns. You should also note the following. Chest X-ray is mandatory for all applicants 11 years of age or older. Urine test and blood test is mandatory for all applicants aged 15 years and older. The blood test is to check for HIV, syphilis, kidney, and liver functions. When you arrive, the panel physician or clinic staff will ask you for identification to confirm your identity. If you are referred for an X-ray or other tests, you may be asked to present your identification again when you go for those tests. Your picture will also be taken for our records. After your exam is done, the panel physician will send the results electronically to IRCC. This usually takes between 2 to 3 days before it gets recorded in your immigration file, but it could go up to 10 days. So we request you to kindly be patient. In case of additional tests required, we will let you know promptly if you need them. During the medical examination, you will be tested for tuberculosis, also known as TB. If the doctor finds signs of tuberculosis, you may be asked for additional tests to determine if your TB is old and inactive or if it is active. In most of the cases, TB is old and inactive and your medical can be finalized immediately. In a small percentage of patients, TB can be active. In those cases, it is important to note that anyone can get TB as it is transmitted through the air when a person with TB coughs, speaks, laughs, or sneezes. Since TB is contagious, it is important that you get treated before you travel. If you have TB, you will not be barred from going to Canada. You will, however, need to be fully treated before you travel. TB can be treated, but it is very important to complete the full treatment. If you do not complete the full treatment, you can develop a form of TB that is more difficult to treat and you can infect people around you and those you love. Since we are on the subject of medicals, it is extremely important for you to know that your medicals must be valid at the time of travel. For your knowledge, all medicals are only valid for 1 year from the date of your initial exam. This means that if more than 1 year has elapsed since you did your medical exam, you must complete a new medical exam if you have not yet traveled to Canada, and and even though you already have a valid visa. Note that even though you have a valid visa, it will be deactivated if your meds are expired. This only applies to students who have not yet used their visa to travel to Canada. If you have already used your visa and have returned to India for a short vacation in between semesters, you do not need to do a new medical exam to travel back. Let's go over the process of what you need to do. Check your original medical form and look at the date of when you completed your medical exam. If more than 1 year has elapsed or will elapse by the time you are ready to travel, you will need a new medical. To start, you need to contact your local panel physician and book an appointment for an upfront medical exam. You will receive a document titled e-medical and has the following information: a UMI barcode, your photo, your personal details, and the date of your visit. You do not need to send this document to IRCC, as the panel physician who conducted your medical exam will send us the results electronically. Please bring it with you when traveling, as CBSA may request to see this document at the port of entry when entering Canada. Many of you will have questions about working in Canada and how the current changes may affect your opportunity to be employed. A UMI barcode. So why is the PGWP, your personal details and the date of your visit, important for many students? You do not need to send this document to IRCC, provides as a better opportunity who conducted your medical exam will send us the results required to apply for permanent residence status in Canada. In addition, Canada has some of the highest salaries for workers. Furthermore, persons with Canadian work experience are often able to demonstrate they have the skills, knowledge, and critical thinking required to do the job. It is worth noting that you can obtain up to a 3-year PGWP. This all depends on the length of your eligible study. Work experience provides a better opportunity who conducted your medical exam will send us the results required to apply for permanent. IRCC has introduced additional measures to provide maximum flexibility for students to obtain their PGWP. First of all, you need to ensure that you meet the usual PGWP requirements. Check our website to ensure that the program in which you are enrolled makes you eligible for a PGWP. You can study your program online and outside of Canada, and that time spent on studies will count towards your PGWP if you have been enrolled in a program that was in progress in March 2020, or you started a program between spring 2020 and winter 2021, and you have been approved for a study permit, or you have applied for a study permit before starting your program in 2020 or 2021. Note that all studies in fall 2020 onwards must be full-time in order to count towards the PGWP. Here is some great news. You can now complete up to 100% of your program online up until December 31st, 2021. You can even complete up to 2 programs provided that your program is between 8 and 12 months in length, and you started your program of study between May and September 2020. Now, in the event that your first application may have been refused, note that you can apply again, and if your subsequent application gets approved, all of the time on studies will still count towards your PGWP. The key is to apply before you begin your studies. I'm sorry, I'm just facing. Okay. This section applies to students already in Canada. Essentially, if a student switched to part-time studies or had to take a break in studies, for example, the spring semester may have been cancelled due to the pandemic, they may still continue to work on and off campus, provided that they were previously a full-time student and already authorized to work on or off campus pre-pandemic. For off-campus work, the maximum limit is still 20 hours per week during the academic session and full-time during regular academic breaks. School closure, part-time studies, or semester cancellation due to COVID-19 do not count as a regularly scheduled academic break. We want to inform you of various fraud activities and misinformation related to important to stay alert to fraud. Here are some headings of the
The last question, the client is asking, if we pass eligibility review, then is it safe to assume that we can expect the passport request letters?
So if eligibility is passed, you still need to do medicals. Have you done your biometrics at all?
Then is it safe to assume that
complex.
we
So
can
where we've
expect
needed
the
to
passport
request additional
letters?
information from you, where you need to do medical
So if
furtherance
eligibility
tests
is
because
passed,
you still need
the
to do
client is asking,
medicals.
if
Have
we
you done
pass
your
the past
biometrics
question,
at all?
the client is asking.
That could be a reason, but again, it's difficult for me to comment unless you actually have case numbers. Thank you.
Moving on, there's a next question. Hi there, I'm a CBSE student and I plan to apply for my SDS visa with predicted grades. Does IRCC accept it as I haven't received my final grade 12 mark sheet? Also, what is the current processing time for SDS Hi there, I'm a CBSE student and I plan to apply for my SDS visa.
So for SDS application,
does
you need to
IRCC
submit a
accept
final
it as I
transcript
haven't
as part of
received
your
my
application.
final grade
You
12
do not have
mark
that,
sheet?
so you
Also,
cannot
what is the
apply for
current
that.
processing time for SDS
Hi there,
application?
I'm a
Excluding the
CBSE
time
final
of
transcript to apply under medical. Like, keep in mind, all of these steps that you're doing is adding to the work we need to do. And we don't have an infinite number of workers to do all of this work. So the more you contact us, the more you're asking us to do all of these other things, it'll cause delays for everything else down the line. If you have an IME, if we send you an IME, when you get your medical done, your medical results are automatically attached to your application through this IME. That's why we're asking you to wait for it. So for anybody who submitted a visa application already, please wait for the IME. Keep in mind, before doing your medical exam. You're doing is adding to the work we need to do. And we don't have an infinite number of workers.
Okay, moving on. What about those applicants who have received their BIL letter but no final decision after that?
It'll cause delays for everything else down the line. If you have an IME,
so a biometrics instruction letter is a request for biometrics.
Your medical results
so
are
I'm not sure
attached to your application.
Understanding this question correctly, but if
that's why we're asking you to wait
instruction
for
letter, it
So
means
for anybody who's submitted a visa application already,
and you should go
please
do
wait
that
for
because
the
we
IME.
can't finalize your
doing
your medical
that you're
exam.
doing is adding to the work we need to do. And we don't have an infinite number of workers.
Okay, moving on. What about those applicants who have received their BIL letter but no final decision?
You've received your So if eligibility is passed, you still need to do medicals. Have you done your biometrics at all? There could be information that comes into that we receive after we've made an eligibility decision that may force us to review eligibility. Like, keep in mind, until you have a final decision on your application, until we've actually issued you a visa, we can re-review your case if new information comes to light. So don't think that, once eligibility has been made, like that's it, it's set in stone. It is not, because your case is still open. Once your application has been approved and once passport transmission has resumed, that's when we'll send you your passport request letter. In the meantime, please be patient, please wait, please do not ask for it, because we cannot send it to you right now because passport transmission has not resumed. Please wait until the service has resumed. Thank you.
Okay, we have two questions about the Quebec files. One person asks, can you comment on the status of Quebec files? The second client is asking, with all due respect, my question is, when would the decisions come for the Quebec students, and specifically for the students of those 10 colleges that were under investigation? We already moved from almost Jan 21 to May 2021, and now it's September 2021 intake. Please address. Thank you.
So all of those cases are in progress. They're being reviewed by officers. They're in progress. They're not on hold. They're not suspended. We are working on them. So a majority of you, there's a lot of you that have received procedural fairness letters or request letters requesting for additional documents. I hope you responded to them. Otherwise, your case may be refused. We are in the process of reviewing all of those responses so that we can get a decision on your cases. Thank you.
The next question says, after applying for visa, if I change my DLI, then how can I change the documents of new DLI in the visa file? Thank you.
So I assume that your visa has already been approved and you've received your visa. If you need to apply, if you're switching DLIs, you need to submit a new application. Thank you.
Client is asking, if I'm fully vaccinated, and do I still need to have a pre-booked accommodation proof for the travel?
Yes. So number one, you need to still have a quarantine plan regardless of whether or not you're fully vaccinated. And for Indian students, you need to ensure that your status as a fully vaccinated traveler meets Canadian standards. So that means that you've had both shots of Canada-approved vaccines only, and more than 2 weeks has elapsed since your second dose, so that you've also had 2 doses. The Canada Border Services Agency will be the one to determine whether or not you will be required to go into quarantine when you arrive at the port of entry. So despite what's happening, because keep in mind, you also still have to do a PCR test upon arrival. And if, for example, you test positive for COVID at the port of entry, you will be required to go into quarantine. So every single traveler needs to ensure, regardless of their vaccine status, has a quarantine plan, meaning bookings for whatever place you need to do this quarantine, to ensure that you do have a place in case those PCR tests come back positive. So you may not require it if your tests are all right, but keep in mind, you will still need to present a plan to CBSA at the port of entry. Thank you.
Another client asked, if I defer my intake, will I be getting the extension for the deadline of my visa? Thanks.
So if you defer your intake and your application is still in progress, please inform us so that we can, when we issue your visa, yes, we will adjust the date. If your visa has already been issued and you need more time on your visa to complete your classes because you've deferred your classes, you will need to apply for a study permit extension once you are in Canada. We will not extend the current visa on your current application. You need to make a new application for an extension. You should do this when you're in Canada and apply for a study permit extension. Thank you.
So the next question is, when will direct flights resume for students between Delhi and Vancouver, as indirect routes are unreliable and very expensive, and students are at more risk of being exposed to COVID-19 virus on an indirect route than a direct one? Thanks.
So everyone needs to monitor www.canada.ca. On this website are information you need in terms of traveling to Canada. On July 21st, this is the last day of the flight ban, the current flight ban. And it's still being reviewed whether or not the flight ban will be extended or if it will be eliminated. But we will not know until the end of July 21st. So July 22nd, please check the website to see whether or not or what is the status of this flight ban, whether it's been extended or eliminated completely. And that'll tell you whether or not direct flights will resume. Thank you.
Another applicant asks, BIL mentions that it will expire in 30 days. However, no dates were available in the next 30 days after I got my bill. What should be my next step? I have already booked the latest date possible. Thanks.
You can use your bill for a biometrics appointment, even if your bill is expired already. It's perfectly fine. The VACs are aware that there's delays in students getting those appointments, especially because there's a really large backlog to get through of everybody needing biometrics, and which is why a lot of the appointments for July and August are already full. And I suspect you may have a September appointment by now. So don't worry that your bill is expired. It's beyond the 30 days. The VAC will accept it. So please use that to when you're going for your appointment. Thank you.
Another question reads, I had a change in passport after receiving passport request due to the old one being damaged. Do I have to send my new passport only for stamping? And how do I update it to IRCC? My new passport also bears the number of old passport. Thanks.
So number one, your new passport shouldn't bear the same number. It should be a different number. It's very strange to me that it would bear the same number. So you may wish to check on that. Number two, just send in your new passport with the passport request letter, and we will stamp that one. We will update your application with your new passport details when we receive the new passport. Please do not contact us in any other way. Thank you.
So the next question reads, I will be traveling with my family. So each member needs to register at Arrive Can app, or just one member can add the details.
To be honest, I'm not sure. This Arrive Can app is really for CBSA and it's not IRCC. I do believe like you're permitted to add family members, but up to a certain number. And then after that, they need to have their own entry or registration. So have a look and try it out. If not, just register each family member separately. Thank you.
The next question is, I just wanted to know, is there any negative impact of withdrawal of previous application on current one?
It depends on what you withdrew it for. Hard for me to comment unless I have case details. Thank you.
Thanks, Elena. So the next question reads, due to the extended closure of visa centers, it was not possible for many Indian students to submit biometrics before the 16th May. How do you plan to handle such cases? Thank you.
So those cases go into queue in date order, and we'll get to them after we get to the cases that were deemed complete by May 16. So the priority is the complete application submitted by May 15, and then everything else goes afterwards. Thank you.
So the next question reads, do we require a RT-PCR test done from the stopover country, even if we have tested before boarding our flight from India? Thank you.
Under the current flight ban restrictions, yes. Thank you.
Is GIC mandatory for non-SDS submission?
No, GIC is only meant for SDS submission. Thank you.
Will SDS applicants receive priority in passport submission and stamping?
So frankly, when we request for passports, it'll be all the students with approved cases. Are we going to delay it? No, we're going to send all the passport request letters out at the same time, and it's about you making your booking for passport transmission for the courier service to send your passport to us. So that's up to you. Thank you.
So the next question reads, does non-SDS stream have high rejection risk because the student has submitted every document required for the SDS stream and just not having 6 in each band?
So this question is a little odd because for SDS submission, you need 6.0 in each band. Like that's just mandatory. Otherwise, you don't meet the SDS requirements. Am I understanding that question correctly?
Yeah, that's what they meant. They meant like, do you see a higher rejection risk because like the student has submitted every document required for the SDS stream, but not having 6 in each band. That's
so for SDS, 6.0 is mandatory. And then for non-SDS, this is also the bar that we're requesting to meet because we are talking about post-secondary education in Canada. And you should have at least a 6.0 in each band to be able to keep up academically. Thank you.
So the next question reads, I have already got my passport request letter. My Ielts is going to expire on August 27th. Can I travel with the expired Ielts?
Yes, you can travel with the expired Ielts. Thank you.
Can you comment on the processing and timelines for spousal open work permits? We have been waiting for more than a year now. Can you share where are you with the current processing files? Thanks.
So with limited processing capacity right now, our priorities for work permits are what we consider essential workers. And essential workers according to Ircc and not other departments for Canada. So for Ircc, predominantly, this relates to healthcare workers, for food production workers, and for transportation and infrastructure workers. All other workers will have to wait for their work permits to be assessed because we are focused on these essential workers first and foremost. In terms of processing timeframes, I believe right now we're working on September cases. So September 2020, like I realize it's a really long wait time, but that's because we've had other priorities to deal with, and the pandemic has really affected our capacity for production significantly. So we thank you for your patience, and we continue to ask for your patience as we get through this backlog. Thank you.
The next question reads, as you are prioritizing applications for travel exempt students, does it mean Indian study permit applications are not getting processed right now? I can't join my university in fall 21 online without an approved study permit. Please help.
Sorry, can you repeat that question again, please?
Sure. As you are prioritizing applications for travel exempt students, does it mean Indian study permit applications are not getting processed right now? I can't join my university in fall 21, he or she says online, without an approved study permit. Please help.
So all Indian study permit applicants are considered priority. So there are no students that are not travel exempt. You're all travel exempt. So we are processing your applications. If there's delays, this is because your application may not have been deemed complete before May 15, or we've requested information from you and you haven't yet responded. So what I recommend is that you check your emails, you check your online account to make sure that we haven't sent you correspondence to ask for certain things. Or that there's nothing missing from your file. So that's what I would recommend. Thank you.
So the next question reads, I forgot to add some crucial supporting documents with my online non-SDS study permit application. I submitted them later through an IRCC web form. I haven't received the request to upload them on IRCC portal. Will these documents be considered in support of my application? Thank you.
So it depends when you sent them. So I believe we're only a few days behind in terms of going through our emails. If nobody's replied to your email and it's taken longer, or it's been sent a while ago, you may wish to send another one. Thank you.
Okay. The next question reads, as new travel restrictions has been implemented, could you please tell me whether a person who completed their 100% of the full-time course in Canada and had to go to their home country for a medical emergency and applied for PGWP outside Canada can come back to Canada on implied status using the job offer letter, valid study permit and TRV, which expires on September 2021? Thank you.
So only work permit holders will be permitted to enter Canada. You left Canada, so you no longer have implied status. Thank you.
For ASDS, is Ielts general permitted?
Sorry, Pooja, you're breaking up. Can you repeat that, please?
Can you confirm if you can hear me right now?
Yeah, I'm assuming the weather's having a bit of an impact on tech. You're breaking up a little, but just repeat the question, please.
Okay, so for SDS, is Ielts general permitted?
General Ielts permitted? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, SDS, general Ielts is permitted. Thank you.
Okay, the next question reads, I do not have my first dose proof of vaccination due to the technical issue on the Kovi app. My record is still not there till date, but I have second dose proof of vaccination. What can I do to show my first proof? Can I get that in written form from the vaccination center as a confirmation? Thank you.
So for the vaccines you receive in India, we have no jurisdiction over this. You need to contact your own government. Thank you.
The next question is, what are the timelines for winter 2022 session? By when do we need to submit the application for study permit? Thanks.
So you should always apply for your study permit as soon as possible. Do not delay. Don't think like you can submit 2 months in advance or 1 month in advance and then you can get your visa right away. No, please submit as soon as you're able. If you have all of the documents you need to submit your application, do it now. Do not wait. Thank you.
The next question reads, hi Elena, I didn't realize the SOP is a highly required document while submitting my application on April 13th. Is it advisable that I submit it via web form now? Thank you.
If your application has not yet been assessed, yes, you should submit that. Thank you.
So, the next question reads, what all factors you consider while analyzing relevancy of studies? Is there a body to do so or the VO analyze on their own?
I'm so sorry. That was all broken up again. Can you repeat, please?
So I'm so sorry about the technical issue. So the question reads, what all factors you consider while analyzing relevancy of studies? Is there a body to do so or the VO analyze on their own?
Okay, so how do we assess relevancy of studies? So we look at the student's background, we look at the student's previous employment history, and then we look at how this new course relates to what their background was. Because we're always looking for a progression of studies, right? Someone who did an MBA, for example, a Master in Business Administration, will not do a general business course diploma at a college. Why? This is not a logical progression of studies. And those cases are very easily refused. So you need to demonstrate to us that there is actually a progression in what you're intending to learn now. And you also need to demonstrate, especially those who've had a gap in studies, who've had work experience, why are you coming back to school now? Because all of this relates to this relevancy of the current program you wish to study. So explain to me, what is the difference with this new program that you didn't learn in the previous one? What I find when I'm assessing these SOPs, this is not being explained very well. Some of you just copy and paste a course description and expect me to understand what's how this relates to your previous one. No, explain it to me. Explain how this relates to the previous one. Explain how this is different from what you learned before. Explain to me how, your previous work experience, this is what's required, and what you intend to do with this in the future. Like, how do you intend to use this moving forward? Thank you.
So the next question says, what is the process after a correspondence letter? Thank you.
I don't quite understand that question. What is the next process after what correspondence? Is that all it says?
Yeah, that's all the question says.
Okay, so this is not a very specific question. I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Okay, the next question says, can we start our studies online even if we are waiting for study permit approval? And can we travel to Canada mid-semester if we receive study permit after the semester starts? Thank you.
Yes to both questions. So as soon as you submit your study permit, even if you don't have decision, you can start studying if you want to, and all of that time will still count towards a PGWP. The key is that you need to have submitted your application before you start your studies. If, for example, that first study permit gets refused, you can apply again. And then if the subsequent study permit is approved, all of that time from when your first study permit application was received will still count towards your PGWP. So this is the key. Apply before you start. And then I'm sorry, Pooja, the second question was?
So the second question read, can we travel to Canada mid-semester if we receive study permit after the semester starts?
Right. So yes, as long as your classes are in session, you can travel mid-semester and then start your in-person classes if you want to. So as we mentioned in the presentation, you should not travel until at least 4 weeks before your classes start, right? So if your classes are already in progress, yes, go ahead and travel. That's not a problem. You just need to make sure you can demonstrate this. Thank you.
So the next question is, do fully vaccinated travelers still need to quarantine for a single day while they're waiting for the COVID test results? Thank you.
So for those who meet the travel exemption or the travel restriction exemptions for quarantine because you're deemed fully vaccinated by Canada, you need to self-isolate but not quarantine. So I believe that the instructions being given to travelers is that please don't come into close contact with other people, but you can, come in and out of your residence as required. If you need to do essential things, etc. You're not confined to your room. And you need to keep a list of anybody you may be in close contact with, just in case that test does come positive. They can also inform those persons to quarantine or isolate themselves until they get tested themselves. Thank you.
So the next question is, while raising web form for additional documents, do we raise it with the specific visa office or the general IRCC web form? Thank you.
So please use the general IRCC platform. So there's several offices who are processing study permit cases for India. You may not know which specific office is processing your case. So please use the general one, and then they'll push it out to the correct office who's working on your application. Thank you.
So the next question is, I submitted my application with TOEFL home-based test in non-SDS, but in presentation it was conveyed home-based tests are not allowed, but nothing is written about such information on the website.
So we're telling you now. In all of our outreach, so keep in mind, the document checklist that's online is pretty generic because they're used globally. The one specific for India, for Nepal, Bhutan, which we also cover here, we have specific instructions in all of our outreach activities. We always promote in-person tests at a test center for Ielts, TOEFL, and PTU only. If you've done the home test, I strongly recommend you go do an in-person test right away and then submit those results ASAP before your application is reviewed. Thank you.
So the next question is about the vaccine. My first vaccine dose is issued on Aadhaar card and the second dose is on passport number. Can it create any issue for the visa offer in Canada if my first dose is not on passport number? Thank you.
So this is really a question for CBSA. It's not for IRCC. So you should direct your question to them. But what I suspect is that whatever proof you have to indicate that you've been fully vaccinated needs to be linked to some sort of identification. And so if those identifications are sufficient, then that should be fine. Thank you.
Next question says, what if we have a change in passport after receiving the passport request letter?
Just submit your new passport. We'll put your visa in your new passport. You don't have to do anything else. Thank you.
Is SOP mandatory in SDS category?
So SOP is not mandatory at all, but it's strongly, strongly, strongly recommended. Thank you.
Is transcript compulsory? I have submitted all the required mark sheets, degree and consolidated mark sheet as well. Thank you.
So for SDS, the document checklist specifies final transcript. So that's what should be submitted if you're filing under SDS. Under non-SDS, this is not a requirement. Those other mark sheets should be sufficient. Thank you.
So the next question reads, should I notify IRCC as the commencement dates of classes have been postponed by a month?
So if it's been postponed by a month, like it really won't impact your visa, yes, you can inform us, submit us an updated LOA with a new start date if you wish. Thank you.
Where do we upload the statement of purpose while applying for study permit? While applying, there are options for all the other documents to be uploaded on the website, and only one document can be uploaded for each.
I believe you can use a client information label for that. Thank you.
Okay, the next question reads, how do you determine if a candidate will leave Canada after their program? Thank you.
So this is really determining ties to your home country. And this is really where the SOP matters. So like I said, not only do you have to explain like why you're taking this program, why it's relevant to you, what you intend to do with it afterwards. Like, what is your plan? You know, tell me how you plan on using this in India. What if you're taking a program that has no relevance in this country? That's certainly not a pull factor for you to return, right? So that's how we're looking at, like, think of all the things.
When applying online, ensure that your name and date of birth are exactly as they are shown in your passport. We are seeing many cases where, for example, a name is incorrectly entered in the biometrics instruction letter and thus prevents the students from submitting their biometrics. These errors take time to correct and will delay processing. On the IRCC website, the published processing times are no longer accurate since we are prioritizing applications for people who are exempt from the travel restrictions. We are unable to provide specific processing timelines and cannot offer a response to any questions on the turnaround for processing of applications at this time. We will contact applicants only when there is an update regarding their application, so please be patient. We encourage applicants to monitor their online accounts, watch our website for updates, and follow us on social media for updated information. IRCC Delhi continues to operate at a limited capacity as necessitated by the pandemic. As such, please expect delays in responding to inquiries. If you need to submit a document or new information, use your IRCC Secure account to send us this information directly into your application. Additionally, please only send one inquiry and wait for a response. Sending the same inquiry multiple times will only cause further delays. Other factors also contribute to processing delays, such as missing documents and incomplete application. Panel physicians across India are now booking appointments for upfront medicals. If you submitted an online application without an upfront medical, you need to wait for an immigration medical examination or an IME form to book an appointment. This means that it may take longer for you to complete your medical exam or obtain the supporting documents you need for your application. However, you must submit the missing documents as soon as possible because we will not be able to finalize your application otherwise. If submitting an application with missing documents, we strongly recommend you provide an accompanying letter indicating what is missing and when you intend to